This conference will now be recorded.
So if you do have questions, go ahead and reach out to me, and we'll ask Taylor and Lauren some questions as we go. So we're excited about this one. Obviously, last week we had some of our alumni on to talk about some of their experiences as college athletes and their experiences as club players. And today we are welcomed by two former alumni as well, but these guys have gone on to a whole new level. They are playing in the pros, both playing in the National Women's Soccer League. And we did some research on, so the number of players that are playing professionally right now, and there's currently 9 teams in the league. Each team has around 25 players on their roster. So it gives you, about 225 professional players in the country. And we have 2 of them with us right now, which is awesome. And it's awesome that both came from Rio. So we are excited to introduce them. First of all, we have Taylor Lytle. Taylor was on our '89 team. For anyone that's on the call right now, that's coached by Kiva. That was the same team that Kiva played on. So they are former teammates. Taylor played with Sky Blue FC for a number of years and then transferred to the Utah Royals, which is where she's currently playing. And then we also have Lauren Milliet. Lauren was on our '97 Zia team, and she's currently with the North Carolina Courage. And as it says there, she was the 14th pick in the draft, which is really, really awesome and exciting. So again, to be having the company of these guys for the afternoon is going to be fantastic. It'll be another great chance for our players that are on the call to hopefully be inspired and motivated, and also ask questions, find out what being a pro soccer player is about. Hopefully we've got some players on the call that their goal is to be a professional player, and that's a great goal to have. And these girls are examples that it can happen. Even coming out of little old New Mexico, we can get into the pros. So find out what the pro is about. So it can, like I said, use it as an inspiration and motivation. So we'll get started straight away. So first question for the guys, and we'll sort of bounce around between Taylor and Lauren for answers here. First question is just about, what do you think you did as a player that was the most important thing that separated you between yourself and everyone else? What helped you get to be a high-level college player and then ultimately become a professional player? And we got it into sort of 3 categories. What do you do as a club player, as a high school player, and as a collegiate player that just helped you, separate yourself from the rest of the pack? So we'll start off with Taylor.
Hi, everyone. I would have to say that just in general, as like a player, I feel like I constantly just knew that I couldn't settle. I knew that I was never good enough, kind of, and I always wanted to get better at everything that I did. I think as I went up in club and high school and the collegiate level and now professionally, I feel like I just constantly knew that someone was always trying to take my position, and we were always competing for a spot. So I felt like that was something that kind of was in the back of my mind constantly as I was training, and knew that that was going to set me apart. So I felt like I couldn't just settle for where I was at that stage.
Yeah, I mean, I'll piggyback off that. I would say that it's like an innate competitiveness. You kind of want to win everything. I think as a kid, I had 2 sisters, and we were always battling to see which one was better. I've caused a lot of fights, I'm sure, but I think it was just, I always wanted to be the best I could every time I stepped on the field, regardless as a club player, high school player, collegiate player. I was always around the game. I was watching constantly. My sister played for Chris, actually, for Rio. And I remember going to their games and being like, that's where I want to be. Like, they're so awesome. They're so good. So I think I was that kind of being surrounded by it all the time and watching the game and studying, new moves, watching Marta and Ronaldinho and all those types of players kind of inspired me to continue to push and be better and know that there are all these new levels you can always attain. Was probably something that drove me as a player.
No, that's cool. And one of the things we talked about last week on our call with players was about doing, above and beyond. It was what you did, away from the practice field, with your teammates. It was doing those extra things. So I don't know if you guys can share any of that stuff. And I'll just let everyone know, because I think this goes to show the sort of the commitment and the sacrifice these players made to sort of get to where they were. Neither of these players lived in Albuquerque. Taylor was from Las Cruces and Lauren was from Durango. And these guys would pretty much every single weekend sacrifice, what most high school players were doing at the ages, every weekend to come to Albuquerque to play, train, because that's where they knew they had to achieve what they achieved. So when the coaches talk to you about sacrifice, it's players professionally who pretty much gave up, that high school weekend year, or weekends through those years to be soccer players. So I don't know if you guys have anything to add to that, about just the extra stuff that you were doing. Lauren,
Yeah.
start with you.
So I obviously traveled like 3+ hours and you did too, Taylor, but we didn't have the same seasons for high school. So I was playing high school in the spring and club. So at times I was driving 10+ hours to play high school and then drive to play club. So I was spending a lot of time like with my family driving. But for me, it was just like finding ways to train while you guys were training during the week. I had to kind of come up with stuff. I was staying fit and prepared. So I was training with boys. I was trying to train with like some of the older girls in the town, just staying prepared and making sure that I was ready. But I mean, I would drag my sisters out at 6 a.m. before school, anything to kind of get that. But like I was so obviously still love the game so much, so I was just like playing 2v2, 1v1. I was getting, my younger sister was defender, so I was like, let's go. Every opportunity we'd set up trash cans, play for hours. And I lived like 2 minutes from a really nice field, so I was always kind of out there on the field playing regardless of the hour. I got a glow in the dark ball so I could stay out there for longer and train. So yeah, that's kind of me growing up.
Yeah, I was the same. Like she said, I traveled 3 hours every weekend. It definitely was hard in high school, just because it is your high school, social life and stuff like that. But I think I realized at a young age that I wanted to go and play at these different levels. So I was committed to basically, just putting that on the back burner and putting soccer at the forefront of everything. Like she said, I trained with boys during the week. I trained with older girls. I had my older brother who, would constantly, push me to go running with him or, play 1v1 with him. And I felt like I was kind of trying to do everything I could to stay ahead of everyone else that was doing the same thing I was doing at that time.
Great answers, guys. We appreciate that. So again, I think it goes piggyback on what was discussed last week about those players that want to go to that next level. It's what you're doing all the time, not just the 2-3 nights a week when you're on the field with your team, but the extra stuff is what's needed to really develop and push yourself as a player. So we'll move on to the next set of questions, which is about being a professional soccer player. What is it like to be a pro player? What are some of the demands that are put on you from your staff and your teammates, physically and technically, and how different are they from what you experienced at college? What was that jump from college to the pros like? So we'll start off with Taylor.
So I've been in this league. This will be my 8th season. And I feel like throughout the years, the league has changed drastically and definitely has gotten a lot better and more competitive. I think that physically, everyone in this league is very fit, very strong. Everyone's fast. Everyone's competitive. And then obviously, technically, everyone is good on the ball. They're all at the same level as you. So you kind of have to set yourself apart in different ways. For me, I realized that when I got to this professional level, that no matter what training session it was, I had to be the best. I had to put forth my best at every training session, because every training session is a time for my coaches and my teammates to basically look at me and be like, are you ready to play at this level? And can you continue to play at this level? So for me, I think I realized that a long time ago that I needed to be the best player I could be at every training session. So I think it's just different from college, where in college, I felt like I could go to a training session and kind of say, oh, okay, well, today I just am not feeling it, or I didn't have my best day. But I feel like here, if I do go out with that mentality, it definitely hurts me. So for me, it's just about going out every day and competing at this level.
Yeah, I mean, to add to that, you definitely don't have the liberty at the pro level to take a day off or take a second off. It's 100% all the time. And that includes like off the field as well. I mean, if you're not taking care of your body, then how are you supposed to perform at a high level? So that includes weights, like getting great nutrition, drinking a lot of water. It is like a 24-hour every single day type of profession. And it is really fun. Obviously, you're getting to do something you love, but it is really, there are really high expectations because you're playing with some of the best in the world. But yeah, I think that it's challenging, but really rewarding, especially if you're always giving it 100%.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, off the field, it is about, the weight training and taking care of your body and stuff. And I feel like a lot of people think, oh, well, you just wake up and you go train for 2 hours a day. But I think at this level, it's like a 24-hour thing. As soon as training is done, I'm thinking about how I can recover. I do ice baths. I make sure I eat properly. It's a 24-hour process. It's not just, oh, well, we train for 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
Well, we just got a question through from Leah Varela, who's on our 06 team. She wanted to know what a day-to-day training schedule looks like for them, right now. So if you can go into some of that detail, that'd be awesome.
During the quarantine time, or just like in general?
How about in general?
Okay. In Utah, we train in the morning. So normally training starts around 10. But if you need treatment or want to get in like a little bit of extra like PT or activation before training, we head to the stadium around like 8-ish. So we're there probably about 2 hours before actually training. And there you can activate. We have all our weights there. We have our athletic trainer there. Everything's there, which is great. You can get taped, all that stuff. Go to training. It's about 2 hours. After training, we have lunch immediately. And then twice a week, we will lift in the afternoons. And then after lifting, if you have an injury or you want some extra physical therapy or something, we have treatments. So for me, I normally don't leave the stadium till around like 3, 4.
Yeah, that's pretty much similar. It's pretty similar around the league, I'd say.
And I feel like it's basically every day. I think we train 4 to 5 times a week. Obviously, it just depends on the game schedule, but it's basically like that every day for the season.
Okay, cool. And we did actually just have another couple people ask about what your training has been like during the quarantine.
So our strength and conditioning coach has been pretty good and on top of everything for us. We still have a program. We run 4 times a week. We have ball work that they want us to do. We have drills that they want us to do. Obviously, everything is on your own right now, which definitely is like a mentally draining kind of, but at the same time, I feel like it's gotten me mentally stronger. So yeah, I mean, we've definitely are still on the same schedule as if we were in season.
Okay. Same with you, Lauren. Is it, you're the same situation, just all individual work right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's same thing pretty much. You're just trying to find any space and getting creative. That can be difficult at times, but there's been some pretty fun things that I've looked up that I can do individually. And running, I'm doing a little bit more long distance stuff just because it's easier. And there's not a lot of field space open. So yeah, I mean, I'd say it's pretty similar.
Okay, cool. Another question that we had just regarding life as a professional player. Do you guys have other jobs, or is being a professional player, you know, can you make a living as it? I think for our younger players that maybe have those aspirations, knowing that kind of stuff, I think would be important. So we'll start with Lauren.
Before quarantine, I did have another job. I was a sales associate at Orange Theory. But you don't necessarily need another job. That's just me. I always assumed that I would be like at the stadium, the whole entire day, but you do have some free time. So I'm not someone that likes to sit around like watching TV or just reading books. So I just kind of wanted to fill my time with, something that would help further my career for the future after I'm done playing, because I can't play forever. So yeah, and last year I was an intern as well for a marketing firm. So you do have like opportunity to explore other stuff if that's what you want to do. And obviously you need to work somewhere that's flexible, because sometimes they'll change the schedule, and you have to, obviously soccer comes first. So I was definitely on my phone a lot saying, sorry, I can't come in today. But yeah, you can definitely have another job if you want, but you don't necessarily need it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like on my team it's probably 50-50. In the off season, I know a lot of girls like to pick up random jobs, coaching. I was a substitute teacher for a few off seasons and stuff. I think that obviously we're always working for equal pay right now for women, so we're definitely fighting for higher salaries and stuff for all of us. But the league has come a very long way from when I started. So I think that, like Lauren said, you don't necessarily need a job, but for me, I've always had one, because the same as her, I don't want to just kind of stay at home and hang out. I like to stay busy. So yeah, you don't need a job. But I feel like in the off season, it's kind of nice to get away from just doing training 24/7.
Yeah, because it definitely becomes really repetitive. And I think that's important too, is like, takes a little bit of time to have some balance in your life, because if it's all soccer all the time, you get a little bit burned out. So when I was younger, I played a lot of different sports, and like that's totally fine and awesome and helps you a lot in other realms. So yeah, having that balance is really good. Like you said, it's nice to have something else to focus on.
Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Okay, we'll move on. We do have another couple of questions that have come in that I think we can answer in this next slide. So first one, do you guys have any favorite memories from your career? And I know, Taylor, your career is a lot longer. But whether it be maybe something, we've probably got quite a few of our younger players on. So if there was a highlight maybe from your your sort of younger career when you were playing club, and then also going into the college and pros, if you've got something that's just will always be a highlight and something you'll cherish. So we'll start with Lauren, so we can let Taylor's memory work.
I gotta dig through some stuff.
I would say club, probably winning state cup. That was pretty awesome. I think we won, like 6 times, but I was only there for 3. So the 6th one was pretty big. That was awesome. And then in college, my first collegiate game, I scored the game-winning goal, and that was pretty sweet. Nice debut. And then in the pros, I'd probably say getting my debut, that was pretty sweet as well, because it was just a culmination of everything that I've ever dreamed of, was like stepping on that pitch and playing for the first time. So those are probably my memories.
Cool. Taylor, if you can remember anything.
I would say the same, winning state for the first time with Rio '89. I think that was huge for us, because our rivals United had won it so many times that when we finally won it, it was just really nice to experience it with all of my teammates and my friends, because we had worked really hard for it. In college, I would say maybe the first time like my team made the Big 12 tournament. It was huge for Texas Tech. We hadn't done it, and it was just nice to be a part of the history of that. And then professionally, I would say was my first time playing. My first time I got subbed into a game was in Portland, and Portland has a huge fan base there, 20,000+ people. So I got subbed on, and my second touch of the game, I scored a goal. So that's probably like my favorite career memory for sure.
That's a pretty cool one.
Yeah, it was. I definitely blacked out after it.
Alrighty, so next one, as it says on here, is there anything now that sort of, you now as a professional player, if you could tell your 15-year-old self or maybe 10-year-old self, something that's like, hey, we should have done this a little differently, or could have done this better, is there any advice that you would have loved to have been able to give yourself now if you could go back in time? We'll go Taylor first.
That's a tough one. I think just like I'm trying to think of where I was, when I was 15 years old. But I think I would just try to tell myself to just enjoy it. I feel like at that age, I was really stressed out with, getting ready for college and all that stuff. So I think for me, it would just to be enjoy the time that you're in right now, and just take advantage of everything that you have around you, all the coaches, everyone that's, preparing you for your future, because they do help you.
Lauren?
Yeah, I would just say like it's your journey and nobody else's. And I think it's oftentimes we look at everyone else and say, well, they're on this team or they're on that team, or they made it here, they made it there. And I think like it's great to have inspirations and role models to look at, but know that you're only one of you in this world, so your journey is going to look a little bit different than everyone else's, and should just again enjoy that process and enjoy your own journey and where it takes you, because there'll definitely be some ups and downs, but it's all worth it in the end for sure.
Well, they're great answers, and again, those that were on last week, we sort of asked, I think it was Cassie from Texas Tech. She talked about when at that kind of age, when you're playing club soccer, it's a time to enjoy it and be passionate about it, because that's what will get you through some of the harder times and the early morning starts and the workouts. You got to be passionate and enjoying it. So it's great to hear our professional players saying the same kind of thing. I think that's often missed, that it becomes maybe a little too serious and we forget to enjoy it. But enjoying the game, if you don't enjoy the game, you're probably missing a big piece of it. Yeah. So another question here, and we actually just got a message from Kieran Hill, who's on our 05 team, sort of similar to this question about setbacks and how did you respond. Kieran asked if you ever had serious injuries, like a broken leg or an ACL injury, and if so, how did you respond? How did you get back to where you are? So I know, Taylor, you can probably talk very specifically about that. So we'll let you start, because I know you have you've had those injuries and you went to where you are.
Yeah. So my first big injury was right before my freshman year in college. It happened 2 weeks before the season started. I tore my ACL. I was devastated. I didn't know how I was going to come back from it. But I came back from that injury, which was great. It definitely was the first major setback I've had in my career, where it took me mentally to be strong to kind of come back from that. But I had a great career at Tech. I've been healthy since, with my ACL and whatnot. And my next injury was my second year playing professionally. I broke my leg, which was also a very big injury. I was out for 9 months, and that was probably one of my harder injuries, just because no one knew if I could actually come back from that one. And then just recently, this past year, I ruptured a tendon in my foot, or a ligament in my foot. The ligament that holds your foot together, basically, and I was out for the season last year. So I definitely have had a lot of injuries. I think that I'm always devastated when they happen, but I feel like it just gives me a reason to come back stronger from them. People always say, well, you're not going to come back the same player, and that's probably true, but I feel like I've come back better, because I feel like I've learned to play different ways and kind of changed how I played every time. I definitely think that injuries come at the worst time. My injuries always came at a time where I felt like I was gonna just, have the best season. And it's hard when it knocks you down like that. But I definitely feel like those setbacks, there's highs and lows in this game, and you kind of just have to go with it. And you're gonna come back and you're gonna be able to play, and you're gonna be strong, and you're gonna prove everyone wrong if you really, really want it. So I've had setbacks, but hey, I've been in the pro league for 8 years, so there we go.
Again, hopefully hearing that is great motivation for our players who maybe are suffering from injuries right now. And I think everyone always fears the worst, especially when there's an ACL injury that sort of can end careers. But I think Taylor is a great example there of, I mean, she couldn't have timed it any worse with 2 weeks before her college career started. And look at her now. So I think that's a great questions to be asked, and great answers as well. So Lauren, I don't know if you've had any serious injuries that you can share and talk about.
I wouldn't say that I've been really fortunate actually to not have had any major injuries, but I will say last year I was finally, I felt like I was grooving. I was finally going to get my chance. My coach told me the week before that I was traveling, I was going to play. And then the day before we left, I sprained my ankle and was out for a couple weeks. So, I mean, I was obviously devastated because it was going to be my first opportunity in the pros. And I had worked really hard up to that point. And I think it's okay. I was literally so emotional for the first day. I was like, I'm so upset. I'm so sad. And I think that's okay, to wallow a little bit. But then I think for me, it was just kind of okay, what can I do to improve my game while I'm home? I watched a lot of film. I was like, how can I be the best teammate to my friends and my teammates while I'm off the pitch? I was rehabbing a lot. So I think there are little things you can do while you're injured that can help you improve a lot once you come back off the pitch and, doing your rehab and everything else. So yeah, that was kind of my major setback last year.
Alrighty, we appreciate those guys. A couple more questions that have just come in from players. So Mo, who was on our 07 team, asked the question, who were you guys club coaches?
You and Chris Cartledge.
Yeah, mine were Ray and Chris.
Oh, nice.
I didn't really want to ask that question because I knew the answer, but someone asked it, so I'm passing them on. So we have another question from Riley on our 06 team, and she was wondering if you have any specific websites that you use or could recommend to help improve skill and technique. And I'm sure sort of during this time of quarantine, I think we've all been scouring the internet and resources to find ways to keep training. So Riley asked if you had anything specific you've been using, or has a lot of it just been coming from your each club's trainers?
For me, a lot of it's been coming from our trainers and coaches and stuff, but I know that the big thing for our league is Techne, TECHNE, I believe. Yael Averbush is in charge of it, and it's just basically a really good app that you can get, and she just does it's just you and your ball basically. You don't need a lot of equipment, you don't need a lot of stuff, and it's actually very helpful just to get touches on the ball.
Lauren,
Yeah.
Same for you, all coming from your club?
Yeah, a lot of it. I've looked up some Corber stuff. That's always good. They just have some good quick ball work that you can do. Yeah, and I think there's some Instagram stuff that you can look up as well. Beast Mode Soccer has some good stuff on there. And there's, I'm trying to think of this. There's a couple other people on Instagram that do some really nice footwork videos that have minimal equipment, which is nice. Just if you're looking to get a quick couple of touches in your living room or in your backyard or anything like that.
Okay, cool. Okay, we've got a couple more questions. and feel free to name drop as much as you want on this one, because I think this is what's cool about being a pro, and it's not going to be name dropping me again. But who have been your favorite players that you've played with at the pro level, and also who would you say has been the hardest opponent that you've faced? We'll go with Lauren first.
Man, there's a lot of my favorites in there. I would say Dabinia has been both my favorite player to play with and the hardest to play against. She megs me every other day, so I'm learning. But yeah, she's just really fun to watch. She's really creative, and just a very spunky player to watch. And that's definitely hard to defend against for sure.
For me, I would say I had the honor of getting to play with Sam Kerr for 3 seasons. I mean, I think she's the best forward in the world for sure. Her work ethic at training was insane, and I was always like, wow, like this is why you're the best. So she for sure has been my favorite player to play with by far. To play against, I would have to say Julie Ertz is always very annoying on the field, just because she's so physical and just always, you know, running and working hard, that it's definitely hard going against her.
Okay, I just think that's so cool that you know, his players that played in Rio, and now they're talking about playing with some of the best players this world has ever seen. That's just so cool. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that gives me goosebumps. So again, hopefully this is stuff that's just inspiring for our players. Another couple of questions come through. Another one from Riley from our 06s. She asked, who your guys' idols who kept you going whenever you felt like giving up or stopping? So, you know, whether that's idols or role models, was there someone that was just a constant motivating source for you guys? Taylor?
I think growing up for me, obviously I was born in 1989, so the 99ers were always like the, you know, Mia Hamm, Michelle Akers, Julie Foudy, you know, Christine Lilly, all of them. They were kind of like my motivation as to why I wanted to be good at soccer, and why I wanted to push myself, and why I wanted to be at their level. Growing up, though, I think my brother actually was probably what motivated me to really stay with everything, probably just because I wanted to beat him at everything. But we were really competitive. But, you know, when I got to high school and stuff, he definitely was one of the ones that I looked to for a lot of answers and advice. He was 2 years older than me. So, you know, he went to college and played soccer and stuff. So he definitely is what motivated me to take my career even further.
Cool. Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up watching Marta, and I loved watching her play and was obsessed with trying to do all of her moves in my living room. But I would say similarly, it's the people who are closest to you that give you the most support. So my dad and my sisters. So my sister was 3 years older than me, and she went to college as well. So I was always at her games watching her play. And they're always encouraging me, always trying to play 1v1, you know, all that stuff. They were kind of the driving force, and still are. They still are my biggest supporters and fans. So that's all.
Family is a big piece of this. If you're going to make sacrifices and get to that next level, you know, your support from your family is going to be huge. So another one here from Evan Matheson, who's on our 07s. She asked, do you have any big regrets from before you made it as a pro? We'll go with Taylor first, because she looks like she might have one.
No, I don't. No, I was laughing because I'm trying to think if I have regrets. I don't think I do have any, but I mean, there's definitely, you know, times when you're at this level and you're just like, wow, is this like what I want to be doing? Just because it is time consuming. I mean, you do miss a lot of things. You miss weddings, you miss parties, you miss your friends and stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm still so excited and happy to step on the field that all of that like doesn't matter. And so for me, I don't really have any regrets, because I know that I'm doing what I want to be doing and what makes me happy. And I know that the people who are in my corner and support me, you know, they're constantly saying like, it's okay that I'm missing weddings and you know, important stuff. So I don't think I have any regrets, really.
Lauren?
Yeah, I would say the same. I don't think I regret any piece of my journey or anything like that, because got me here. And like you said, it can be tough and it can be challenging, but I mean, I'm so passionate about the game. Like I could play 2v2 for hours. So it's just something that I love doing. And yeah, I don't feel like I have any regrets from my career.
That's a great place to be in, that's for sure. So Leah from our 06s asked another question, asked about college. How did you balance being a student athlete? And also, how did you know which college was best for you? So Lawrence, since you were recently in college, what would you say the answer to that?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I wanted to be close to home, so I'm from Colorado, obviously, so I didn't want to be far from my family. So I kind of was looking at colleges in the area, and I knew I wanted to go Division I, so that kind of narrowed it down a lot to geographically. And then I found CC, and I was absolutely in love with the coaching staff, the girls, the culture, pretty much everything kind of fell into place there. And the academia was awesome. I found a really great program. I'm an English major with a film studies degree, and I loved everything about the program. And then what was the first question? I forgot it already.
How did you balance being a student athlete?
Oh, balance. Okay, yeah. I feel like I just kind of had to allot my time and make sure that I wasn't procrastinating. I feel like that's kind of the biggest thing for me, was to make sure, like, as soon as I got home from practice, I was doing my work, and I didn't really have time to, put anything off or like watch that hour of TV. I was just kind of moving from one thing to the next. And I think like just kind of putting your time where it matters the most is really an effective way to make sure that you're balancing both things really well. And I'm not saying that it's not difficult, because there's definitely times where I did want to watch 2 to 3 hours of Netflix, or you want to go hang out with your friends, but there's definitely a time and a place for all those things.
And Taylor, how did you choose tech?
Yeah, I committed very, very late. I committed, I think, like November of my senior year. I didn't actually, I knew that I wanted to be kind of close to home or on the West Coast. And I kind of went back and forth to a lot of colleges, didn't really know. I took an official visit to Tech, and I think I just fell in love with the campus and the culture and the team, and that is why I chose Tech. It was about 6 hours from Las Cruces, so it's not too bad. And I also knew that at Tech I could play there, and I could start, and I could make a difference and help grow the program, which was huge for me. For me, I really struggled trying to balance trying to be a student athlete my freshman year. I chose to be an animal science major. I was pre-vet, so a lot of sciences and chemistry, and just it was very time consuming, and I don't think I was prepared to, and then also have soccer. So for me, it was like Lauren said, kind of trying to find that balance. It was really nice at Tech. We obviously had, a student athlete building that you could get, tutored and whatnot. So I think after my freshman year, I kind of found that good balance of, okay, in the morning you train, then you go to class, then you study, and then after you get all that stuff done, you can do whatever you want. So it definitely took me a year or so to figure it out, but I did it. I graduated.
Lots of trial and error. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that answers. We just had a question on the chat as well about how did you be a soccer player and still get good grades. So I think the girls just explained that it's balance, and finding that balance is key, and it's not easy, and it takes some time to get there. But again, you do get a lot of support at the collegiate level to make sure that the academics are being taken care of, as well as the soccer piece. So we've got time for probably another couple of questions. We just got one here from Ellie, who plays on our 05 Burgundy team, and she wanted to know, how do you guys mentally prepare on game day?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go Lauren first.
Oh man, I mean, I like to wake up early, and sometimes I'll meditate or I'll journal, just to kind of calm my thoughts. I'll go for a walk, just, I love nature and getting out in the fresh air. I feel like that calms me down a lot. I don't really listen to any like pump up music. I find that actually like creates a lot of chaos for me. So I actually listen to like really calm music before I start playing, which I think is often kind of strange for people. But yeah, I think I just like to get in a space that's really calm for me so I can just focus all my energy into the match ahead. But I also don't like to go too crazy and overthink stuff, just because I think often that's kind of a rabbit hole you can dig yourself into. So yeah, I think I just try to find like a nice balance in my head, and kind of that's the way I prepare, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same with you. I try not to like overthink it, because I feel like sometimes the more I think about it, the more chaos it does, or more stress it does put on me. So I think before games, usually I wake up, eat like a bigger breakfast, go for a walk, kind of clear my mind of everything, and just I think during my walk is kind of when I think about the game and think about what I want to do in the game, what my role is going to be in the game, how I want to impact, whether that's, starting or coming off the bench, just how I want to, impact the game. And then the same with Lauren. I don't like to listen to a lot of pump up music. I actually listen to country music before the games. I think it definitely calms me down a little bit, and because I feel like my adrenaline is just going before games. So I don't really have any rituals. I know a lot of people, oh, well, I have to wear my hair this way, or I have to eat this on this day. I don't really have anything like that, but it's just mostly about getting my mind right and just calm down before a game.
Okay, cool. And then we got one more, another one from Riley on our 06s. So Riley, we appreciate you being so engaged. And Riley, her team yet hasn't started sort of the college recruiting process yet that she'll go through with the club. So she'll get some of this information as she gets a little older. But she asked, what is there a way that to get on a college's radar to grab their interest? Was there anything that you can remember that sort of caught your college coach's eye? That you were doing that helped you get recruited? Taylor.
I think at the time, I think we were at a college showcase is when I actually got recruited by Tech. So I feel like obviously the club sets you up for success by going to these college showcases and all that, and passing out the brochures and whatnot. I think also for me, before we went to those showcases, we emailed the coaches. I don't know. That was a long time ago, but I believe I emailed the coaches my schedule and told them I was this number. I played this position. These are the times that my team is playing. And I think at those kind of showcases and stuff, you just have to take advantage of how many coaches are there, and don't like freak yourself out, but definitely just do what you're good at and try to set yourself apart some way so that they recognize you.
No, and the process is still very similar. Lauren, was there anything you did that caught the CC coach's attention?
I mean, I think it's probably similar. I think I wasn't looking around being like, oh, these are all the college coaches. I was just playing. I always just tried to play like someone was watching me. So there was never any doubt. I think there's another piece of that is like college coaches are watching everything you're doing, not just how you're playing. They want someone that's going to fit in their program personality wise. So I think like making sure you're doing the right things off the pitch, treating people respectfully, treating the refs with respect. I think that all goes a long way in a college coach's eyes. But yeah, I think just like play 100% every time you step on the pitch, and there's always a good chance you'll catch someone's eye.
Okay, cool. That's sound advice. So we'll do one more quick one because we have one here from Hayden Young, who plays on our 09 team. And she just asked, how did you feel when you got to be a pro at that level? What emotions did you go through when you sort of got recruited, got signed, and first stepped on the field? Taylor.
So I think Lauren and I probably have a little different experience with this, because I graduated in 2011, December 2011, and I was supposed to start my pro career in 2012, but the league at the time was the WPS, and it folded. So for me, just fresh out of college and having the professional league that I was planning on going into fold was devastating, and I definitely felt very lost at that time. Thankfully for me, in 2013, the NWSL came around, and I was picked up by Sky Blue, and I mean the weight that was lifted off my shoulders at that point in time was just surreal. And then also just knowing that I had finally made it. I think just recognizing that all my hard work and all those parties that I missed and all this stuff that I had given up for this, it was all worth it, because I was like, okay, I made it. And I definitely feel like I wasn't like settling at that point, but I was like, okay, like now's my chance to really prove to the world who I am. And so for me, it was just another challenge, but it definitely was probably one of the happiest days of my life. And I know for my family and I, like it will definitely be one of the best days ever.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It was like, I think every single emotion you could possibly feel was in my body at the moment I got drafted. I was like trying not to cry while I was on stage. They like asked me to do a speech, and I was like, like literally like just so excited and like almost speechless at that point, because like you said, it's all of your hard work, all of the hours that you've put in, the sacrifices that you and your family have made. It's kind of, it all felt so worth it. And your dreams, like finally, I felt like my dream was like just now starting, like it's something that I've been looking forward to literally my whole life since I was like 9 or 10. So yeah, and I think it was similar with stepping onto the pitch for the first time. It was like a culmination of everything, all the hard work, all the emotion, like everything was finally like coming to fruition. And I felt like I could take on the world at that point. I could run through a million walls with that kind of energy.
And I think it was cool too at the same time, because I felt like my dream was always become a professional athlete, but it also was like my parents and my brother and my family, like they went through all of this with me. So I think, that's why, like as a family, it was just such an amazing time to reach this level. And, they've gone through every experience with me. So I know that they felt the same emotions I felt, for sure.
Okay, cool. Thank you for answering that one. And one more quick one. It just came in, and we will make this the last one because we've taken up nearly an hour of your time already. So this is from Caitlin Sanchez on our 07s, and she asked, did you ever play in the ECNL or the Developmental Academy? And if so, did that help set you up for success? So we'll let Lauren answer that one, because both of those leagues were before Taylor's time. So Lauren, did you ever do anything in either of those leagues with with other clubs?
Yeah, I didn't. I think DA was before or after my time, and we weren't in the ECNL. But I think we did play MPL, right?
Correct. Yeah. We were in
yes,
MPL.
We got more opportunities to play different teams, but I didn't have an opportunity to play in either. But I obviously, having not played in it, I've made it to where I am. So I think like it's really what you put into it, not where like what types of teams you're playing against, or the league that you're in necessarily. It's all the work you're doing with your teammates that I think is the really important piece.
Oh, that's a great answer. The landscape of youth soccer is ever changing, and always to put our players in the most sort of prestigious and optimum positions at all times. But I think Taylor and Lauren can sort of show that it doesn't matter necessarily the league you're coming from. It's more the work you're doing, the person that you are, the player that you are, that they're more important than the prestige of the league you're playing in. So I think that's a great answer from Lauren. So I think we have answered all the questions that have come through. So we certainly appreciate everyone who's been online and joining in and asking questions. It's great to get the interaction from our players to these guys. And of course, we thank, huge thank you to Lauren and Taylor for giving up some time to chat with everyone. We really appreciate it. I think it's been enlightening to hear some of the stuff about life as a pro. And again, I just think that the story from, that you have from both playing youth soccer and, in Las Cruces Durango, the sacrifices you've made to come to Albuquerque and sort of taking you to the level you're at right now, I think is just inspiring. And hopefully a lot of our players, younger players and older players, just go away from this last hour and be really inspired and want to get out and get the ball right now and go play. That's the goal of these sort of webinars we're doing is can we get everyone excited and inspired. So we really appreciate Lauren and Taylor. Hopefully the North Carolina Courage and the Royals now have a little fan base growing in Albuquerque, and hopefully our players continue to track your careers and support, and we really do appreciate it. So thank you so much for giving up some time, and hopefully fingers crossed we get to see you guys back on the field here in the summer months and get to see you guys in action. But I do think you will have a ton of players now that will focus in on games and be able to say, hey, that's Taylor, that's Lauren. I talked to them a few months ago. So we really appreciate it, and we appreciate everyone being online, and that will end our webinar there. So thanks for everyone for joining in.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Taylor. Appreciate it.
Yeah.